This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience.
War Eagle Auburn fans, welcome to No Huddle, your source for Auburn football news and discussion, part of the E2C Network. I'm here with Jared Davis. Also, my name's AJ Richardson. Got that part. So, how you doing, Jared?
I'm doing well, my friend. Doing well. How about yourself?
I mean, minus football, great. So, everything else seems to be going pretty well. So, yeah, this is another big game for Auburn against Ole Miss. I mean, Ole Miss was one of the wins last year that we thought, wow, like we were moving somewhere. Harsin can do this. And this year, I mean, if you had to like encapsulate how you feel in a sentence about this game, what would it be?
The game with Ole Miss.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, I'll be honest with you. They're a much better team than we are right now. But you know, they struggled with Vandy last week for a while. They Kentucky, wound up giving them 5 turnovers, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Kentucky got beat by South Carolina pretty bad, or did at one point. They were losing pretty bad. So I don't know who's good, to be honest with you. And we've also gone down to Ole Miss and faced better offenses, because I think Ole Miss right now is a fairly good team, but their offense isn't just like lighting it up.
Yeah.
They're actually playing pretty good D. So if we had some semblance of an offense, that's a very long sentence, isn't it? You told me to do this in a sentence. If we had some semblance of an offense, I would say, hey, we may could go win this game. But yeah, I don't feel good about. I don't feel good about anything right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hard part. Like, the only piece that I feel good about is our punting game.
Like that's your boy too. So I mean, you like Oscar. So I mean, hey, he's had. Can a punter win the Heisman?
I mean, at this point, he's going to have the most yards of any player in college football. So yeah, go give it to him.
Well, typically to win the Heisman, you need your team to have won enough games, right? Well, punting by default, you really don't. Your team needs to be bad.
I mean, he could be the first punter to ever win where the team doesn't even make a bowl game. So, that could be it too.
Yeah,
right?
Let's do it. Build another statue out front. That's right. Stick him in between Cam and Bo.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, that would be crazy. But anyway, so we've got Ole Miss coming up. Right now, I mean, Auburn opened up as a 13.5-point underdog. That has now risen to 15.5-point underdog. And that is the largest spread against Ole Miss in a very long time. Like, I've heard, 10 plus years, something like that. So you can kind of just see where the team and how the national, media and how, sports betting kind of views this team. I mean, sports betting in general they don't take major risks. So they're thinking Auburn has little to no chance, at least with what they have. Kind of looking at, the numbers that Ole Miss has been putting up. I mean, for goodness sakes, Ole Miss has been on fire this year as far as their offense. I mean, they're averaging almost 500 yards a game. And then that's also around 40 points a game. So you put both of those things together, you put any somewhat competent defense on the field for Ole Miss, and they have it's not the worst defense in the world. And you got a winning, this is why they're 6-0. They have a winning solution right now, and that's going to be something Auburn's going to have to we're have to put up at least 30 points if we want to beat Ole Miss, and I don't know if our offense can do that. Like, I think it's going to take kind of like the some crazy iron bowls, some pick sixes or fumble scoop and scores that our defense scores to get to a point where we're even competing, and that's a hard spot to be at. I mean, I know Ole Miss is a very good team. We're not shying away from that, but I don't necessarily have the faith that we can do it. I mean, last game we did score in the second half, so that's positive, right?
Yeah.
But we got to do more than that. We got to do a lot more than that to stay in the game against a high-scoring offense like Ole Miss.
Yeah, I think our defense will probably keep them under their normal. Like I think when I just said I didn't think their offense was as great this year, and you countered that with actual facts. So they apparently are doing really well. But I watched them play Kentucky. I think they got 20 points, and little bit of a struggle for them. That's the only game I've seen them play. So, I think at the end of the day, if everybody's healthy on our defense, I think for 3 quarters we can probably keep them in check. Now, for the defense to do it in the fourth quarter, they're going to have help from the offense. They're going to have some drives so they have a break.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can do it. Ole Miss, and this is one of the things about Lane Kiffin. I had a buddy of mine that was not really sold on Lane Kiffin the first time we did a coaching search, and some people were. And he said, I think he's just an offensive mind. Well, he's built a relatively good defense over there.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at the stats here. The points allowed for his defense is 14.5 this year. Now, I will say this. They haven't faced the most amazing teams yet. I mean, they faced Georgia Tech, who already fired their coach, Tulsa, Vandy, Clarkson, I think, or something like that. Yeah, Central Arkansas. Sorry. I didn't even know what that symbol was. Like, that kind of shows you, like,
might as well be Clarkson. We'll go with that.
Yeah, it's like
Kelly Clarkson. Does she have a university? I don't know.
I'd probably just made that up.
Yeah, why not?
But the point still stands. Like, they haven't faced, besides Kentucky and Vanderbilt, a whole lot of competition. So
Kentucky's not an offensive juggernaut. They're a good team, but they're not. That's why I think I'm not talking myself into a victory here, but I don't know what Ole Miss is essentially, and we can't negate the fact that our secondary is playing really well, and they might be able to keep this thing relatively low scoring.
Mm-hmm.
But they're gonna have to get help from the offense.
Yeah,
and I don't think they will.
Yeah. Well, if you look at their offense in general, it seems to be pretty balanced between passing and running. So if we can force them to pass the ball a little bit more, I think we have a better shot at winning. Now, can we do that? I mean, we've had issues stopping the run a lot of this year. I mean, Georgia was getting chunk yards on running plays the whole game, it felt like. That is Georgia also. I mean, this is an Ole Miss team that has less talent than Georgia does, but it's still, like, the point still stands. You have to stop the run to, force the team, Ole Miss to pass the ball. If you don't do that, I mean, good luck. I mean, it could be a track meet. Let's talk about Lane Kiffin for a minute. So, he's been there for a while now. I mean, it's always fun to hear some sort of, rumors of, like, who are we going to get if we fire Harsin, and, Lane Kiffin's name keeps popping up. I mean, should we just start, scrounging up some money, go to Oxford and, pick him up, right? Like, make it an efficient run.
Yeah, I think that'd be all right. We just make a deal. Look, man, we let you win the game. Come back with us.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you. He's probably, so there's no guarantee out there. He's probably tops on my list just from the fact that I think he has gone to Ole Miss and proven that he's learned a lot of things.
Yeah.
He did learn under Nick Saban. And he's done really well at Ole Miss. He had their first 10-win season maybe ever, I think. And he's on pace to do it again.
Yeah.
And he's doing it with
he's
less
6-0. Like,
yeah, he's 6-0.
That's great for Ole Miss. There's not many coaches at Ole Miss that have done that.
Yeah, he's 6-0. He has made it very clear that they cannot compete on the NIL level there. He was frustrated with their fan base for leaving early at a game. So I think if Auburn wanted Lane, I think they could have Lane.
Yeah.
And to me, I think he's, again, there's no definite, right? I mean, the definites aren't coming. That's Saban, Kirby, Dabo.
Right.
They're not coming. So you're going to have to take, everything's a risk. And I think that this guy's proven it in the division that you want a coach to be successful in.
Yeah. And I think he's, as much as, like you said, I was a little bit in that same boat of, I didn't even really want to consider him. I think he's proven enough to me that I think that would be, if anything, that would be better for Auburn. And again, the question still comes back to, is this better for the team? Is this better for Auburn? And I think a guy like Lane Kiffin will be better for Auburn. Now, do we have the money to pay his buyout at Ole Miss plus whatever buyout Harsin has? That's the question. Probably not, but I would love to see it if we could scrounge that much money up.
Let me ask you this. at some point, does it enter into the conversation of, hey, what if we pay a little more up front to get a better coach and we avoid a $15-20 million buyout 3 years from now when it doesn't work? Like, do we ever do math and say, hey, yeah, we could get this guy for $6 million.
Right.
We could pay $9 million and get a better coach.
Right.
And maybe we don't have to do this again in 3 years.
Yeah. Well, it kind of reminds me of like, I know enough about, the stock market. It's kind of like you have, risky stocks. You have more stable stocks that are going to, over time, they're going to, double, triple, quadruple your money. And you're putting a little bit of a risk into the unknown of, somebody like Carson. And you think, oh, potentially it has the upside, but you don't know. Or you could put something in a more stable,
which
money.
Costs more.
Yeah, which is going to cost more, like an Apple stock or a Google stock.
You know what's
yeah,
going to happen.
Yeah, and those are going to be more stable, but you have to pay a lot more than the penny stocks. So it's like, to me, it's like, do you put the money up front? What's the calculation that kind of goes on there? I don't know, and I would love to think that we would think that far ahead, especially in the day and age where buyouts are so massive. I mean, there was a funny tweet that I saw, and I think it was a Seinfeld episode, and it was a guy like he was just like on the payphone, like, "Hey, I can't figure out how to get fired. Help me." It's like, and they were like alluding to like Carson wanting to do that. And I was like, I don't know if he's at that spot. I'd hope not, right? But maybe he is. He's like, all right, just fire me so I can go, get my $15 million buyout and move on to another gig. Like, so
I actually think Harsin is not as terrible as people made him out to be. I know you're joking a little bit, but I think Harsin really cares for his players.
Yeah. No. You see, there's so many good videos of him after games, like consoling his players or like coaching them up. And like, I legitimately think he's a good person. Like, even I think I told this story in the off season. My sister was on campus as a student. One of her friends' tires broke down or, went flat. And the team was walking past Harsin. Like, all the players just kind of like walked past and like didn't even offer to really help, which is fine. Like, they were going to practice, whatever. And Harsin like looks over and like genuinely is like, "Hey, do y'all need some help?" And I was like, that to me, and that was to like essentially a student that isn't like paying his salary really. Like that's the kind of person. Like, I genuinely think he's a good person.
I don't.
Point still stands.
Yeah, and I know you were joking. I think where I was going at, I don't think you really think he's doing this on purpose. But the thoughts crossed my mind too, and then I'm like, I think he cares for his players. I don't think he would do this on purpose. Even if he's mad at any powers that be or whatnot, right? He cares about his players, and he cares about his career. And I will say this though, I don't think he's doing it on purpose, but I think I think he's more loose now, and he's making not great decisions.
No, that's a good differentiation.
I think he's just doing it because he's like, you know what? What do I have to lose? Like, I want this play to work. I'm not trying to sabotage Auburn. But if I was actively pursuing, if I knew I was the coach here for years to come, I wouldn't run this play.
Right. Well, and it kind of reminds me of, the first 3 games we saw, pretty vanilla play calling and whatnot. Like, it seemed pretty, just meh. And I feel like we've seen a lot more variability and some crazy play calls, obviously, in the last 3 games. And I think that after Penn State, he was like, if I want to keep this job or have a chance at keeping this job, what do I have to do? And it's make the crazy calls and just hope and pray that it works. And so I think you make a good point. It's I'm not trying to lose my job. I don't think that. I mean, I feel like it would be really dumb for a coach to do that, especially with how young he is and what he wants to do with his coaching career. But he's doing it because he's like, really, like, I got to try something. So this is what he's trying.
Yeah, and I think you and I are on the same page. I wasn't even I know you were making kind of joking.
It was, yeah, definitely. It was
totally joking. I wasn't trying to say you're. Why would you even think that? I know you're kind of joking, but the thought has crossed my mind before too, and I just thought, I really do think he probably cares about these guys, and they buy into him. I mean, hey, And who knows, behind the scenes, they might be telling, athletic directors and stuff, hey, we want him still here. Who knows? Why that is, I don't know, because it's pretty obvious it isn't working. But, it's they're in there, man. They're the ones bonding, and I think they all care for each other. It just isn't working, and I think he's gotten a little loose with his calls because of it, and that, to me, that's a detriment of the team.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple more things, just so you know about Ole Miss a little bit more before we go to Oxford on Saturday. Their quarterback, Jackson Dart, has been pretty decent, not the best. 8 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Done pretty decently for them, done enough. He already has almost 1,400 yards passing. So, I mean, he's doing the job that needs to get done and obviously winning enough games. But this is where I think Auburn needs to be focused on, is the running backs. Both of their running backs, their top 2 running backs, are averaging around 6 yards a carry. If you told anybody that Ole Miss was doing that even 10 years ago, people would be like, are you kidding me? Like, that's not happening with how much Ole Miss loves to pass the ball around. But they're being efficient with it. They're making, if any team, literally any team said, yeah, you're making 6 yards a carry, okay, we're handing the ball off to them a lot. So,
well, and that to me, so people are talking like, okay, can this be fixed with Auburn? Yeah, good coaching, it can. Ole Miss does not have better recruits than we do, and they have figured out a way to make their line work to where they're averaging 6 yards a carry.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We have better running back. We probably have higher rated offensive linemen.
Yeah.
If you get the right fit with coaching, look at Tennessee. They finally got the right fit with Heupel, and here you go. So, yeah, it can be done. But yeah, as far as Ole Miss goes, they're playing well, man. And that's what's got people to warm up to Lane. But they're a well-rounded team. They're going to be difficult. It's not impossible. Like going into Georgia, I said, there's zero chance. I think there's a chance we beat Ole Miss. We're just going to have to score points, and I don't know where they're coming from. But I think there is a chance that we keep it low scoring enough to be in it in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Well, and again, a good opponent like Kentucky, they hung with them 22-19 just a couple weeks ago. And so I think there's a chance that it could be something like that with Auburn, because I think Auburn has a pretty darn good defense despite injuries that we've had at the edge position. I still think we have a decently good defense that can, probably keep Ole Miss under 30 points and maybe make it a little scrappy. Like that's the only way. All right, let's transition to our players to watch for this Ole Miss game, and then we'll get into our score predictions. Players to watch on offense. Who are you going to be watching, Jared?
I'm probably, I don't know if it was this podcast or the last where I brought up the Jarquez fitting this offense better. I'm going to see if I think the numbers don't lie. I'm going to see if they follow the numbers or do they follow the star power? And that's, Tank's the star player. And listen, I love Tank. I don't think it's all Tank's fault. I just think Jarquez fits this offense. So I guess what I'll be looking for is, do we go that direction? Do we make it very clear that we also think Jarquez fits this offense?
Yeah.
So, and that may be a little controversial. People probably upset. People may disagree with me, and that's okay. But I think better things happen when.
Yeah, and it kind of seems that way. I don't know why that is. Do teams just scout Tank and know roughly what we're gonna do, and maybe that's so. And then Jarquez is a little bit of a 8-ball out there. He can do a lot more. I think if you gave me Tank or Jarquez, I would say Tank every day. But you've seen kind of the high-powered what Jarquez can do too. I mean, he's making, if you're basing this off of this year, Jarquez, how many big plays, I'm already thinking of at least 3 big plays that I think Jarquez has made this year. Whereas I think Tank's made a handful, but it's not up to like what Jarquez has done. So
and again, I'm with you. All things equal, if you said, hey, you have a great offensive line in front of you, you have a quality team, quality coach, you can have Tank or you can have Jarquez. I'm taking Tank.
Yeah.
But the eyeball test, I don't know, man. The eyeball test tells me that whatever we got going on right now in offense, when Jarquez is out there, we are moving down the field a little better.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think you're going to have to do that because, we've kind of seen our wide receivers have been a little, they tend to catch the ball a little bit more this year, which is good, but they haven't had the consistency. like we've hoped for. So my player to watch on offense, I mean, look no further than Robbie. I mean, it's the easy one, but if Robbie is out there, or maybe TJ ends up coming back for this game, it's going to be on the quarterback because we're going to have to pass the ball a decent amount, and that has to happen pretty efficiently to keep up with Ole Miss. So we got to watch out for that. All right, defense. Who are you going to be watching, Jared?
I think probably DJ James. I think he's improved every game, and he's we have Auburn's got a pretty good history of sending turning DBs into lockdown.
Oh yeah,
cornerbacks. I was watching the Falcons versus the Buccaneers on Sunday, and you got Jamel Dean and Carlton Davis.
Yeah,
on that team. Roger McCreary, I don't know if he's playing up in Tennessee or not, but we got a pretty good history of taking some players, and I feel like DJ could be that next guy.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep an eye on him, see if he keeps progressing the way I think he can.
Yeah. And I'm going to take your guy. I think you've had him for a few times, is Owen Papo. He did have a good game this last game, and I think he is starting to get back to what he used to be before the injury. So I want to keep watching him because he has the potential. I mean, he has that 5-star next to his name, and up until really a game or two ago, I was like, man, where's Owen been? He's not in the right spots. He's not making the right tackles. And the last couple of games, he started to do that more. And I think if you have a solid linebacker that can fill the gaps and stop, the big burst runs, like I mentioned, Ole Miss can do, then you have a little bit better chance of winning. So Papo's my man. All right, special teams. Who are you going to be watching? Better not take my guy. Just kidding. You can.
I got to let you have Oscar. I can't take it. I know he's your man. Why don't we go Keontae Scott, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Let's go with him because I felt like, and he probably wasn't doing this, but I felt like he was like, just catch the ball against Georgia.
Which that was fun considering, he fumbled it, against, LSU. So I was fine with him focusing, honestly.
Yeah. I think that we need that to be a weapon.
Yeah.
So whatever we got to do to get his confidence back to where it's not like, okay, just catch the ball. Yeah. We need it to be like, all right, let's catch the ball and make a play. So I'll be keeping an eye on him.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we win this game with field goals. So, I mean, even if Anders has the best game of his life, I don't think we win. It's not going to be that type of game more than likely against Ole Miss. And I really don't want it to be a punting game, but I mean, I keep coming back to I think it might. I mean, just looking back at the Kentucky game where, the scores, they kept going back and forth. So yeah, that tells me let's watch the punters because that can really flip a field. And, so far Oscar's, done well. And, so I'll keep watching him. All right, let's get into our score predictions and then finish out with an Auburn fan perspective of the SEC. Score predictions. Ole Miss again, 6-0. We are underdogs by 15.5 points. We are, according to ESPN stats, about 15% chance of winning, which I think is pretty high. But again, that kind of shows you we do have a better chance than even us Auburn fans probably give us credit for. So we have a shot in there. So Jared, how are you feeling about this with your scores?
Man, it's just so hard to pick again. I'm always pick for Auburn unless it's like a Georgia or Alabama where it's not happening, but I just don't see it. I don't think our offense can do enough. I think it winds up being probably like 24-13. I think Ole Miss wins, unfortunately.
I mean, that would be honestly in my book a chance to win. If we keep Ole Miss to only 24 points.
I think we will. I think we'll keep. I don't think it'll get out of hand. I think it'll always mathematically still be a shot until the end, but we'll all know, okay, we can't move. It's not happening. Like, we can't move the ball. We can't put together a drive. I think it's going to be one of those type games.
Okay. I mean, I would love to hope that. I just don't know if it's possible. So, I mean, I even preseason had predicted us to lose by 7 points. I'll say we lose by 10 points. Or no, I'll say 14 points. Like, I think that's more reasonable. We barely beat the spread, and that would be a win, I guess, kind of. Considering I think we've only had one game where we've actually beat the spread this year. So, all right, let's talk about other games, because I think I am about done talking about Auburn for a few days. I'm just kidding. I love talking about Auburn. Who am I kidding? So let's talk about other teams. Bama, they dropped from number 1 to number 3 in the AP poll. Bama barely beat Texas A&M, and Texas A&M literally got down to the 2-yard line and had a chance to win that game. So I think that shows you, like you said, there's a lot of, as good as Bama is, any team can win at any given moment. And Georgia's kind of shown the same thing. So a couple other kind of interesting things that happened in that game. Bama had 4 turnovers. Their kickers missed 2 field goals. So classic #Bama kickers.
Yeah, they're back. I thought they had fixed that problem. Apparently not.
Yeah, and they had, the equivalent of a 5-star kicker that they got, and he's still there. So it's just always funny to me. There's literally something in the water over there. And then Bama also was using their backup quarterback because Bryce Young is still a little banged up. I don't know what the timeline is, but they're still going with their backup. I think his name is Jalen Milroe. So seems to be doing decent, but it's definitely not the same Alabama power with Bryce Young. The guy that had so many NIL deals that he's probably lost count.
He's everywhere on TV.
Yeah. Another couple games, and I feel like this was a pretty decent, week of different SEC games. Tennessee beat LSU, and so again, Tennessee is looking formidable. I am so glad we are not playing them this year, and I'm so glad Alabama plays them every year, because I think Tennessee is about to. That's going to be a fantastic game.
Tennessee will beat Alabama.
You're making that prediction, really?
Yeah, they're going to beat Alabama. They beat Georgia today. I don't know when they play. By the time they play, Georgia may figure some things out. If they played today, they beat Georgia.
Yeah, the way Tennessee's looking, I think most teams would be really scared against them. And guess what? Alabama versus Tennessee is coming up next week. So right now, Alabama is only a 7.5 point favorite, which is probably, I don't have stats for sure, but I would almost bet that's probably the lowest spread that it's been in probably a decade.
Yeah, that's a terrible spread. It's in Knoxville. Tennessee's playing better football right now.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's 7 by Alabama. But yeah, that is one of the lowest, but at the same time, I still can't believe it's that. Tennessee, I could see them beating both Georgia and Alabama and losing to somebody they shouldn't, because they're not back to that. They don't have that championship mentality yet. But yeah. So it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah. Mississippi State, who is now ranked, so that's pretty crazy. But they're looking really good.
They're playing good ball.
Yeah, they beat Arkansas, and Arkansas is on the decline while Mississippi State is on the incline. So Arkansas is now 3-3, similar spot as Auburn. This is crazy to me that Mississippi State is 5-1 with the crazy Pirate leading them. And I don't know, Jared, did you see an interview with Mike Leach about his coffee? Did you see this?
I didn't.
Okay, so I'll kind of fill everybody in. So he was interviewed. He was walking off the field, and he was asked about, because he had coffee in his hand, and he was getting asked, "Hey, do you like coffee?" And he was like, "No, I don't like it. I don't like the taste." And you're like, "So why do you have it?" And he was like, "Just because I need some energy." And I was thinking about you, Jared. I know you love some coffee. Do you take offense to him saying that coffee doesn't taste good?
No, because you gotta, if I was gonna go the leach explanation, it depends on what type of coffee you have, and did you doctor it the right way? You know what I'm saying? No, I'm just messing. Coffee itself, just black coffee with no creamer or anything in it, is not a very good product. But if you put the right amount of creamer and all that in there, you're good to go. So that's funny though that he's like this. He does realize there's other ways to get energy, doesn't he?
I would hope so.
Yeah, like a good Mountain Dew. Like if you want, I don't know, there's a Red Bull.
Mountain Dew is my caffeine of choice. So
Yeah, I haven't had one in a long time, but it is a very tasty drink. So if you're going just for energy, there's a lot. You could get an energy bar,
Yeah, you could get caffeine pills. You could go 5-hour energy.
5-hour energy. There's a lot of things you could do.
Yeah. So
So
I just thought that was funny. It's obviously on brand with who
Yeah.
Mike Leach is, but he's just so truthful. He's like, I think it's terrible, but I'm still drinking it.
but I'm still drinking it. You know what's funny? I think their one loss is LSU, and honestly, they fumbled a punt at like their 5-yard line that turned that game around. Or they probably are undefeated.
Wow. How crazy would that be? Like, truly.
Yeah, I still feel like because last year Ole Miss had a really good senior quarterback. I still feel like when the season's done, they're gonna be more back. Both the Mississippi schools more back to where they, a little better than they typically are because they've started so well. It'd be a big fall off at this point to not be better than they typically are. But I don't think they're both gonna like have ridiculous seasons.
Yeah.
Where they're fighting for the West champion. But
You mean
who
East?
knows?
No, you're right. It's West. Well, I guess
Well,
East for Ole Miss.
Well, I think they're both in the West. But
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
With,
What am I
with,
thinking?
no, you're good. With Missouri being in the East, who knows at this point? Doesn't matter. We're just making stuff up. But yeah, I don't think they will. They still got to. Ole Miss hasn't played A&M or LSU or Alabama. They theoretically could lose all those. Mississippi State has played A&M, I think, right? Yeah, they beat A&M.
Yes.
But they got us, LSU, and Alabama as well. I don't know who they play from the East. So, anyways, I think at the end of the day, the good story for the Mississippi schools right now. I don't know if it'll continue to this trajectory, but we'll see.
Yeah. Mississippi State in just a couple weeks is facing Bama. And that I feel like would be that'll be a true test to me as to where Mississippi State is. So
I'd take their quarterback. He's pretty good.
yeah, and it's showing you that Mike Leach, after I think this is his third season, has kind of shown you he can develop a quarterback and make him even better. So showing his system even in the SEC is definitely working. Florida beat Missouri. Not a whole bunch to write home about. The only kind of interesting thing was, and I think this shows Missouri's defense is really solid, is Florida in the first half only had 65 yards total offense. 65 yards
Wow.
in a whole 30 minutes of football. And it makes me feel a little better about how we did against Missouri. But, that's just the way college football is. But then you look at the game, and Florida, despite only having 65 yards of offense in the first half, wins the game. So, again, it comes back to second halves. And can you come back from being down? So,
Yep, agreed.
number 9, Ole Miss beat Vandy. I think we've already alluded a little bit to this in our preview for Ole Miss. Vandy was really hanging in there up until around half, and then it was pretty soon after that Ole Miss started just putting up the points. And as soon as that floodgate opened, it was truly all Ole Miss after that. South Carolina upset number 13 Kentucky in Lexington. Now, I will say this. Kentucky is down there starting quarterback Will Levis with a foot injury. So that kind of partially played into it. But, South Carolina was out a few of their players as well. So, it was kind of on both ends. And, for South Carolina to do that, I think that's a big thing for, Beamer, their head coach there. Get some big, that's a top 25 win. So anytime you can do that, it's a good morale boost. And, Shane Beamer is going to be a good recruiter anyway. So it's kind of just showing you early success with him. All right, Jared, any other final thoughts before you get out of here?
No, man. Just hopefully we have a good week, and let's go have some fun and try to get a win against Ole Miss.
Yeah, I think you got to put your head down, especially as a player, but even more potentially as a coach. Put your head down and say, we have to do our job. And I think Harsin, like we talked about, rein it in just a little bit, and I think we might have a chance at something special, even in Oxford this next week. All right, how can people stay in touch with you, Jared?
You can find me on Facebook. Under my name is Jared Davis.
And you can find me on Twitter at AJAY, JAY_. It's always great to be an Auburn Tiger and War Eagle.
War Eagle. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on the E2C Network. On your way out, I want to remind you to stop by e2cnetwork.com. It's your one-stop shop for all our content across our podcast, YouTube channel, and much more. To stay up to date with us, make sure you're following social media accounts such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. While our content here may always be Auburn sports heavy, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. War Eagle.